Hello, my name is Kevin Eismore, and I'm just doing this short, quick video about Microsoft. The truth of Microsoft and how their operating systems are. Some people call, William Gates a bully, basically, and he stole, Apple's operating system, OS X or whatever it was called back in the 1980s, I think it was, or was it somewhere around 1979 maybe? But it was. Some people think that William Gates started in his garage, so I don't know about that truth or not. But I do know that William Gates had an education at Harvard, and he had an high college education, one that cost a whole lot more than most colleges, or at least technical schools these days, anyways, if you compare it to that. And maybe it's a longer course, maybe that's part of the reason, but anyways, so his parents were wealthy. Don't think that he was like some homeless person at the age of 18 kicked out of his drunkard parents' house, and he really didn't get a good start in life. He was both smart and he was backed by wealthy parents. Now, were they rich? Maybe not, but they were at least upper middle class. And he didn't even have $10 million when he was first starting out, and he wouldn't have gotten anywhere if this one thing didn't happen, which he basically got lucky that he didn't have too much competition, and nobody else had an operating system to speak of at the time when he first started out. So don't think that William Gates is a self-made multi-millionaire, billionaire, or however rich he is these days. Don't keep up on that information, but I just know that he has well over $10 million. I've seen a documentary, and he probably has over $1 billion. I wouldn't be surprised, of course. They say something about he's the world's richest man, but anyways, I don't know all the exact numbers, but I don't need to know, because I have all this experience from when I was a teenager back starting around 1989. That I have computer experience since then. With Windows 3.1 and MS-DOS 5 or 6, somewhere in there, were the two different Microsoft operating systems I was dealing with. I couldn't use a program with some other operating system. It wasn't compatible. Programmers made the mistake. I think it's a mistake. It wasn't fair to all the other programmers these days. It's kind of gotten out of hand, I think. It just wouldn't have been so favorable, and mass amounts of wealth above and beyond, $1 million or a couple $1 million may have never happened, or certainly not more than $10 million. He would have stayed less than $10 million. William Gates would have never made more than that. Way back in the 1970s, I think, when he was starting out. He wouldn't have gotten anywhere to speak of compared to where he has financially gotten now in life if he had more competition and more programmers were making more operating systems, and not only that, but more programmers were making each and every program, whether it be a game or a PC game or a computer game, or a tax program to do your taxes, or a CAD program to design stuff with, or a word processing program, or whatever else. I don't know they had animation back then, but they had word processing and games back then, I remember. And back in 1989, anyways, and I don't know about before then, but so I'm older, but I'm not that old. William Gates still older than me, but so I don't remember back around. I was just born in 1978, so around that time. But I don't need to know that. Okay, so this is the truth. The basic truth is that the truth about Microsoft is they got rich because programmers failed to make their program work with other operating systems. So that's the cold hard truth there. They didn't program their program, whether it be a game or a word processing program, CAD animation, etc. Whatever the program was, they didn't make it compatible and be able to work with other operating systems. Only Microsoft and or Apple's operating system. That's all they had back around 1989, 1990, the whole 1990s, in fact. Besides when Linux was coming around. You know, I mean, programmers would program on a rare occasion for stuff for Linux and or Microsoft, but there's so many programs that I happen to like and many other people like that only work with Microsoft Windows. These days there's no MS-DOS anymore, it's just Windows, Microsoft Windows. And you know, working with Microsoft Windows. What was I about to say? I lost my track of. But I wanted to show you this. Ubuntu, I'm pretty sure is OS X is the Apple. Ubuntu is from Linux. I believe that's Linux Ubuntu. And then Windows 8, of course, is from Microsoft. That's that picture. And then I wanted to show everybody this. This is the truth about Microsoft and interoperability. So basically, this is kind of being on Microsoft's side, for Microsoft, and trying to defend Microsoft. In this article that somebody wrote on lifehacker.com.au, an Australian website, I guess it is. So it just says, the myth, Microsoft wants you to use nothing but Microsoft products. Reality, Microsoft is a competitive player in a heterogeneous world. I believe that's how you say that word. So myth, Microsoft doesn't support open source. Reality, Microsoft is a strong supporter of open source. So myth, it's difficult to operate with Microsoft products. Reality is interoperability is a core design consideration. And a couple more myths. Microsoft doesn't back open standards. The reality is Microsoft is a key open standards player. Like DirectX probably would be an example. But okay, myth, Microsoft Azure cloud platform ties you to Windows products and Microsoft standards. Reality, Azure is an open platform. Alright, so all this is true. You know, I'm sure all of this is true. I've had many years of computing experience, and almost every year, not quite every year, since 1989, I've had computer experience, and you know, decades of computer experience, and experience on some of a lot of the history, but not all of Microsoft's history. But anyways, even though all of this is true in this article, it's still, it's you know, it's defending Microsoft, but still nowhere in that article is it saying about how they have competition of operating systems, but not in a way where programmers basically are worshiping Microsoft with their good programs that I like and many other people like, that they can't use it with Linux. If I ever want to go to Linux or any other operating system that works with IBM computers, because it's proprietary operating systems with Apple. I don't think everybody realizes that Apple computers have a proprietary operating system. Mac OS X, whatever else that they call theirs for whatever kind of computers that they've got. I think probably even their smartphones and tablet PCs, iPads, and stuff like that. Apple computer has everything proprietary with their operating systems. different kind of operating systems, different names and numbers for different kinds of things like an iPad, an iPhone, or an iMac, etc. But whatever it is, it's proprietary, and I'm just saying that the non-Apple computers are called IBM compatibles, or at least they used to be called IBM compatibles, and they certainly still work the same way. So basically, Microsoft works with any kind of computer like Toshiba or Dell, etc., or HP, Hewlett-Packard computers, and all the other brands like Sony, and yeah, I mean, this could go on and on. Samsung is another brand, and Acer starts to make computers in the last handful of years. So there, I mean, there's just a lot of different computer companies there, and they're all IBM compatible computer companies. Anything and everything other than Apple is considered IBM compatible. That's a term that may or may not be used anymore, but that's the description is describe a non-Apple computer. It's just another words for it. So I'm just saying about that because the Apple operating systems, they don't, they can't work with any other kind of computer. You can't put their software in anything else. They make it in such a way that it detects that, or somehow if they don't put it on disk, or if the data got on disk, it would make it be able to detect the hardware. They just a certain serial number on the motherboard. It's just something secret I don't know about, but it has to do with programming and the BIOS and the startup, and I mean the whole thing is just it's integrated in a way where there's no way it could not detect it unless you're some kind of hacker, which I'm not a programmer or hacker myself, by the way, but I'm an experienced computer user, and I've seen a documentary on William Gates, and so anyways, I know from experience what happened with that. So he just didn't have enough competition. In a way, he got lucky because there wasn't programmers programming every program that was made to work with all possible operating systems on the market, period. If that happened, people would maybe buy Microsoft Windows or MS-DOS, Microsoft DOS, but would not necessarily stay with it, and they certainly wouldn't have to stay with it like they do these days. You pretty much have to. There's a CAD program called ViaCAD Pro I recently, or a friend of mine recently purchased for me, and that CAD program only works with the Apple and Microsoft Windows. It doesn't work with Linux. So that's an example, but there's many other examples, not just these days, but especially these days. It's not as bad, actually. There's more programs compatible with many more operating systems, but not good enough. It's still not good enough. But back before the year 2000, it almost always was only one, maybe two different operating systems, and I mean, that's a nightmare compared to hopefully what's in the future going to be 100+ different operating systems that every program can work with, and there really are more than 100 operating systems in the world. I mean, we're talking about the whole world, and there's only two major operating systems before the year 2000 that were popular. Now Linux, I would say, is somewhat popular. It wasn't back then. I mean, businesses I think had it, but no personal computer. But now it's both businesses and personal computers have Linux. Some people, anyways. But I never had Linux myself, but I've seen videos on YouTube. Anyways, I made this too long, but that's the truth about Microsoft. The simple truth is they got rich because they got lucky that programmers didn't program their program to work with anything but their Microsoft Windows or Microsoft DOS operating system, because it couldn't work, whether it be a game or CAD program or an animation program or a word processing program that was different than Microsoft Word. It's another one. Whatever the program was, that doesn't matter. Just saying that the programmers that programmed it make it compatible with different operating systems, or maybe only one, and then that's what they did. They only made it compatible and work with only one type of operating system, Microsoft, or maybe two, Microsoft and Apple, but not any others. So that was it. It's that simple. So programmers need to hear this video. They need to hear this message. They need to start making their program compatible and work with at least 3, hopefully more than 10 different operating systems. I don't know that there are 10, but I think there's 5 or 6 that exist nowadays. And I think before the year 2000 there was only 2 or 3 worldwide, and that's it. So anyways, it's getting better slowly, but it's still way too unfair, and the programmers need to make their program work with more operating systems. I'm angry about this, I really am, because it forces me to not have a choice but to have Microsoft Windows. So when they have Microsoft Windows 8.0 that everybody hated, I had to have that too if I wanted that other program that I love to work, and not to have to go with some other program I really didn't like as much. Well, it wouldn't be like that if ViaCAD Pro worked with more operating systems. That was just that program now, but there's many others that only work with 1, 2, or maybe 3, and that's still pretty limited compared to more than 10 operating systems, which hopefully someday there will be more than 10. Maybe they're all looking basically the same, and they'll work basically the same, but if they ever have something junky like Windows 8.0, problematic junky it's harder to use, and maybe somebody doesn't want to have to be forced to have to use that, basically forced, then that's what programmers are at fault for this. Programmers basically worshiping Microsoft and Apple, and they're not making it work with Linux or whatever else. There's other operating systems too, other than that also, and they shouldn't be required by law, I think, to make it work with at least 3 different operating systems, and ideally more than 10 like 10 or 20 different operating systems would be for almost all programs in the world. If they could do that, then that would be where I could switch to Linux, or maybe not Apple because Apple's proprietary, but I could switch to Linux, or I forget the other ones. OS2 is one that used to exist but doesn't anymore, I don't think. But just there's others, and so that's my message. It's the programmer's fault that Microsoft got rich. That's the truth about Microsoft.